Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to Science, Technology and Innovation Forum, Policy Forum Public Lecture Series. The program is presented by Vigyan Prasar in partnership with Research and Information System for Developing Countries, RIS, which is a research think tank which is committed to explore and understand science, society, network connectedness. The TERI, the Energy Research Institute, Indo-French Centre for Promotion of Advanced Research, CEFIPRA, and India Habitat Center. This STIP forum has been founded with the objective of promoting informed debate on various aspects of STI, science, technology, and innovation. Keeping this in mind, we have been organizing through this partnership, we have been organizing a monthly lecture to bridge the gap between science and society by disseminating information on developments in science and technology. The forum is aimed to bring the broader public view through kindling the debate on societal aspirations and expectations from science and technology and innovation. And the partner organizations is hosting this lecture every month on rotational basis. And in this series, Vigyan Prasar is organizing today's 34th public lecture program. Vigyan Prasar is an autonomous organization of Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and we are actively engaged in large-scale science communication, popularization, and extension activities for the last 32 years. So innovation involves the process of creating a new idea in the given context and its successful dissemination in the society. It opens up new avenues for economic growth and is necessary for inclusive social development. So building a strong foundation for education in India is one of the most important building blocks for developing an innovation society. And we live in a time where knowledge as an input to economic growth has fundamentally changed and indeed gained more prominence. And we need to focus more on leveraging technical education, research, and development to stimulate innovation, enhance competitiveness, and boost economic growth. To shed more light on the issue today, we have Dr. Abhay Jere, who will discuss about building an innovative ecosystem in educational institutions. I feel immense pleasure to welcome our distinguished speaker of today's session, Dr. Abhay Jere, Chief Innovation Officer at Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell in All India Council for Technical Education, AICTE, New Delhi. Welcome you, sir. And Dr. Nakul Parashar, Director Vigyan Prasar, who will chair the session. Welcome, sir, Dr. Parashar. It's my privilege to welcome all the senior scientists and consultants of our partner institutions who has joined us for the session today. And also a very warm welcome to all the audience and the participants who have joined for the event. So without much ado, I humbly invite chairperson of the session, Dr. Nakul Parashar, Director Vigyan Prasar, for his introductory remarks and introduce our today's keynote speaker. Thank you. Over to Dr. Parashar, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kinkini Dasgupta Mishra. It's indeed an immense pleasure for me to be here today on this RSI lecture that is being in turn organized by one of these partner bodies that Dr. Kinkini Dasgupta Mishra spoke about. Has been into existence for last popularization various print, electronic, social, digital. And this course we've been bringing, we've been organizing, we've been talking, we've been deliberating on various issues of science communication, popularization, and also its extension. And in this course, as Dr. Mishra spoke about our today's lecture, we are all very excited to hear Dr. Abhay Jere, who is a man of many accomplishments, and I'm here to introduce you to all of you, Professor Dr. Abhay Jere, who has been the Chief Innovation Officer for the Ministry of Education, Government of India since August 2018. Before joining this ministry, Dr. Jere worked as the chief scientist at Life Sciences and R&D head of the Persistent Systems Limited. He is also the brain and driving force behind annual initiative called the Smart Hackathon, which has the biggest hackathon innovation model. His efforts have established a culture in India. Prime Minister Modi had personally organized the first India-Singapore joint hackathon, which was executed by Dr. Jere. Dr. Jere is education institutions in India and their innovation achievements. To guide education institutions for establishing innovation ecosystem, Dr. Jere conceptualized institutions innovation councils. Currently, IIC, that is what we call as institutions innovation councils, has been established in more than 1,600 institutions involving 26 lakh plus students and faculty and professionals. Dr. Jere designed National Innovation and Startup Policy for Faculty and Students 2019 to help enable students and faculty of higher education institutions to work on their innovation, startup, and enterprise. Dr. Jere is committed to popularize the need of innovation and entrepreneurship amongst Indians, and hence he routinely writes columns in renowned English and vernacular newspaper and magazines. He has also conceptualized India's first leadership talk series, which has a great viewership. Recently, Dr. Jere has also conceptualized a training program to convert 6,000 college faculty from across country into innovation ambassadors. Dr. Jere is also a very active scientist in the field of biology and bioinformatics, having worked in the US, Japan, and Europe. He's the main brain behind Human Atlas Initiative Manav, and currently its national coordinator. He has worked in the cutting edge areas such as vaccines, genomics. As principal investigator, Dr. Jere has received multiple research grants from Dr. Jere has published more than 200 computer completed his PhD from the National AIDS Research Institute, Nari, Pune. Dr. Jere received multiple awards like the Digital Thought Leadership Award by the World Assessment Council, Boston, in US, Distinguished Alumni Award by ICT Mumbai, and the Shama Prasad Mukherjee Award. We are honored, privileged to have you here, Dr. Abhay Jere, and we will now request you, because we are all very excited to hear you speak on such an important and interesting topic that talks about educational systems. So without wasting any time, I would hand over the stage and mic to you, sir. We'll be honored and glad to hear you. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nakulji. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, because I hope the connection is stable then. So, Honorable Nakulji, Kinkiniji, first I would really like to thank Vigyan Prasad for inviting me for this lecture. I'm told that you are doing these sessions every month and you are getting good speakers to talk about science and technology, innovation. And I will request you to continue these sessions. Also invite me to listen to some of these sessions, because sometimes it's better to listen rather than to talk, so that you actually learn things and do more impactful work rather than just giving gyan to others, you know. So, and I am aware about the work Vigyan Prasar is doing. for last maybe more than 25, 30 years. So it's when I got this invitation from your side, I immediately latched onto it. And I said that I should use this forum to promote our culture, to promote our thought process of promoting innovation, entrepreneurship within our scientific community, faculty members, as well as students. I hope many of you will be certainly aware about our ranking on Global Innovation Index, GII. If you are not, you should really look into it. So this is the ranking which is published by WIPO, that is World Patent Authority. And on that ranking, they actually try to measure the innovation ecosystems within different countries. And our performance on that ranking is not very great. In 2014, our rank on Global Innovation Index was 81. Very, very, very low. While China was in top 20s. The most innovative country is still Switzerland. And for last 3-4 years, they are maintaining that position. But if you really look at the jump which we have achieved in last 5 years, it's simply phenomenal. And this year, we are now 48. India is the only country which has shown such a phenomenal jump. So we started from 88, then we come to 81, then we were in 70s, then in 60s, 50s, and now we are 48. So this year we are 48. But if you really look at which are the countries ahead of us, then you will be very surprised to see some countries, and maybe you may not have heard their names also. Estonia, Latvia, then even Greece, which really went bankrupt few years back, is also doing better than us when it comes to innovation. China's rank is 12th. So a country of 1.3 billion people, this ranking is not doing justice to us. And we need to make every possible effort to ensure that we create the culture of promoting innovation and entrepreneurship within our educational institutes, within our organizations, and within our society. Our Honorable Prime Minister always talks about $5 trillion economy. But if we have to really achieve this $5 trillion economy goal, undoubtedly due to this COVID crisis, there is a contraction. But now green shoots are visible. But our long-term roadmap is unperturbed. In our internal meetings, we still discuss about $5 trillion economy. But if we really wish to achieve this $5 trillion economy, then we have to evolve as knowledge-based society, as knowledge-based economy. I know Vigyan Prasar is doing some really good work in that direction, but we need to support such organizations. And if we have to evolve as knowledge-based society or knowledge-based economy, then we need to generate ideas which will not only have impact within the country, but across the globe. For me, Atmanirbhar Bharat doesn't stop at national level. We have to go international. We have to generate ideas which will have pan-national impact, global impact. At one of the forums, very different forum, and I was also one of the panelists, and we were discussing a completely different topic there. We were talking about nationalism, we were talking about patriotism, and so on and so forth. Completely different topic. But at that forum, I said that if you really look at current Indian scenario, for me, the person who is generating more and more IP for this country, more and more ideas for this country, is the most patriotic person for me. Because if we have to grow, if we have to generate wealth for this country, then we have to have ideas. But unfortunately, that is not happening. If you really look at just patent filing data, then the picture is quite disturbing. On an annual basis, China files about 15 lakh patents. From US, you get about 6.5 lakh, 7 lakh patents. So China is already more than double of US. But if you look at Indian scenario, then that number is very low. And it is between 45,000 to 50,000. So China files 15 lakh, we file 50,000. And on top of it, about 60% of patents which get filed in this country are by non-residents. And we have to change this. It's not that we are dumb and only ideas come to people in China or Europe or US. But what we lack in this country is a systematic ecosystem which will help our youngsters, which will help our ideators to move forward on that idea and own that idea, either convert it into a technology or a product. We lack that ecosystem, and we need to create that ecosystem. Because in India, we have 40,000 educational institutes which are giving education in higher education sector. 40,000. Out of that, 10,000 educational institutes are in technology sector. But the amount of number of patents which get generated from these 40,000 is not even 2,000. This needs to change. And majority of these filings or many of these ideas which are coming from premier institutions. You take IIST, IITs, NITs. More than 85% of our educational institutes, higher educational institutes I'm talking about, simply don't have that ecosystem, have never filed patent ever in their history. We need to change this. We need to teach people to up their ideas. If you really look at publication sector, then we know what kind of problems are already there. People have started their own journals, and that's the reason UGC had to come up with a very strict guidelines. Because many of the publications were simply corrupt, were non-authentic. But this will never generate, if we continue on these lines, will never help or never generate wealth for this country. And I believe, and internally in ministry, we all believe that there cannot be better people than faculty members, scientists, and students who could generate wealth for this country. Usually, if you are a scientist or a faculty member, you are asked to pursue only Saraswati, because you're told, you're programmed to think in this way that you are pursuing academics. You're creating knowledge. That's right. But what we also believe, that there cannot be better people than faculty, than scientists, than bright students who can simultaneously pursue Lakshmi. So we need to tell our faculty members, we need to tell our scientists that don't be shy about wealth creation. Don't look it in a degradative way. Don't frown upon people who are involved in wealth creation. But also join that bandwagon on exploring how you can convert your knowledge into your wealth. And within ministry, now we are taking multiple steps to facilitate this. And one of the important steps which we took was this national innovation and startup policy for faculty and students. Because when we actually looked at various policies which were there in multiple organizations, we're simply aghast. I will share with you a couple of stories which will help you understand the gravity of this problem. I met a student. He started his own small business enterprise in his hostel while he was doing his graduation in a very, very prestigious institute. And he started making some amount of money, few thousand rupees he made through his venture. When director came to know about that, the director of that institute, that such a such student has started a venture, the director called that student and said that you need to give our share of revenue to the institute. So where is institute share? So the student said, why should I give institute the share? The IP is mine, business is mine. I have not used any of the institutional facilities. Director said, wrong. You're using hostel's internet, which is institutional facility. And because you're using hostel's internet, the entire IP belongs to us. And you have to give revenue share to the institute. This is terrible. This is actually discouraging entrepreneurship. Then in some of the institutes, when we started looking at the policies, especially IP sharing policies, revenue sharing policies, in one institute, I found revenue sharing where the institute was demanding share as high as 60%. अगर फैकल्टी 100 रुपया कमाता है, उसका 60% अगर इंस्टीट्यूट निकाल लेगा, 30% इनकम टैक्स निकाल लेगा, तो फिर बचता क्या है? और क्यों करेगा कोई फिर? We said this needs to change. So, and there were many other things, like what kind of position you should hold on the company. If you are doing startup, what should be the leave mechanism? What should be the facilities which should be given to students, and so on and so forth. So we came up with a very comprehensive document called National Innovation and Startup Policy for Faculty and Students, which is endorsed by UGC as well as AICTE. It's a guiding framework. And we expect institutes now to use that framework to frame up their own policies. And I'm very, very happy to share with you that more than 800 institutions are now using NISP as their reference document. But I will also request Vigyan Prasar here to look at the document and to talk about it and tell your institutes where you're going that you need to unshackle your faculty members, your students, so that they can go ahead and pursue their ideas. Because currently, if you really look at the culture in our education system, is all swallow and vomit kind of a culture. And this is because of our swallow and vomit kind of education system which we have. It's all about grades. It's all about marks. Whether I got first class. Faculty also treat their load or their as load, working load. They treat their lecture as load. That's the problem. And innovation, ideation, entrepreneurship is not the primary fulcrum in many of these educational institutes. And we need to change that. And the problem which this education system is currently creating, and now with this new education policy, which we are trying to bring in, we are making multiple changes. But still, till the policy gets implemented, we have to make changes, small changes at our institutional level, so that the culture of just pursuing marks and grades changes and gets shifted on pursuing new ideas, new technologies. Because this culture of pursuing marks is actually not helping us create right kind of human resource. We recently did a study, and Stanford did it for us, where they compared engineers. They looked at this computer science engineers and electronic engineers, and they compared these engineers with engineers from China and Russia. And when we saw the results, it was not very encouraging. What we found was that the problem-solving skills, the design thinking skills of our engineers is below par as compared to engineers from Russia and China. The quality of students at the entry level is far worse. The only silver lining in that once the student gets into that technology course, his problem-solving capabilities increase drastically. But at the end of the course, when he is out of the course, still his problem-solving capabilities are not in par with the international requirements. And the primary reason for this is that our educational systems and the culture in our educational institutes is to only chase grades and marks. So we are very good in parroting a definition. But if you ask students to use that definition and solve a problem, use that concept and solve the problem, they falter. Because we are not into experiential learning. We are not into project-based learning. We are just, as I said earlier, swallow and vomit. And we together have to ensure that this changes. Otherwise, the Atmanirbhar Bharat, which our Prime Minister is envisaging, or generating ideas which will have global impact, will never be possible. We will always end up creating generation of youngsters which are job seekers and which are not job creators. So I will take this opportunity to request all the faculty members, all the scientists, to involve as many youngsters as possible around them. Sensitize them towards the problems which we face. Because what we currently see is that our youngsters never take upon themselves to solve the problems which our country is facing. They will always look at others. They will either want government to solve the problem, or they will want some external agency to come forward and solve their problems. But they will never took upon themselves to solve the problems. So we need to sensitize our youngsters that this is the problem which our country is facing. This is the problem which your city is facing, or your village is facing, or your town is facing, or your institute is facing. And can you help us solve it? If you really look at many of the educational institutes, they organize a lot of tech fests. You know, some project is done which is showcased to youngsters. So some technology which is copy pasted is there. But hardly any institute actually organizes an idea competition or a challenge which tells that our institute, for example, or our city faces these 20 problems. Can you solve it for us? Can you give some real concrete solutions which we can implement? That never happens. And that is the reason to create this culture. We thought about this IIC initiative, Institutional Innovation Council's initiative. Because what we realized is that when it comes to talking, large number of people talk about science, talk about innovation, talk about entrepreneurship. But if you really ask them in private that what you are doing to promote this, many of the leaders don't have concrete answers. So we felt that a very serious hand-holding is really required. Because many times, the leaders of these institutions don't come from this background. For example, if a vice chancellor gets appointed, he can come from very different background. He can come from sociology, psychology, philosophy, or basic sciences, or languages. And suddenly when he becomes a vice chancellor, he's asked to do innovation. He's asked to promote entrepreneurship. Very good people want to actually do something. It's not that people don't want to do. I have met large number of directors, vice chancellors, deans who are very, very progressive, want to bring about changes. But sometimes they don't know how to go about it. So we said that we will actually explore how we can handhold you. And we started this IIC initiative, where we told them that just try to follow what we are saying. And eventually, the innovation ecosystem will get established, stabilized in your institution. And I'm very happy to share with you that currently we have IICs in about 2,000 plus institutions, out of which about 1,100 are really good and active. They are doing. So internally, we are also actually scratching our head what we should do for remaining 800, 900 institutes which are not active. But 1,100 institutes are very, very active. in last 2.5 years, 3 years, they have done more than 20,000 initiatives, small and big, related to innovation, related to entrepreneurship within their campuses. This has helped a lot in sensitizing our youngsters, sensitizing our faculty members, that this is the route which we need to take moving forward. And I'm very happy to share here that in all these programs, we had involvement of about more than 1.5 lakh faculties, about 25 plus lakh students. The number of students and number of faculty members is not unique, because one faculty member could be involved in multiple initiatives. But number of initiatives are unique, and we have the record for it. And that these records give us that strength, or give us that motivation, and give us that feeling that things have started changing. Things are not as bleak as data suggests. And we need to all join hands in giving a bigger push, bigger impetus to such kind of initiatives. And that is the reason when Vigyan Prasar invited me, I decided to come on this platform. So that, because we need to create the network. We people who are working in this area need to come together, hold hands, join hands to give the push which is required, because it's not going to be the easy thing. The legacy which we have for last 70 years, we have to change. And it's a mindset change we are talking about. It's not an infrastructure creation problem. It's a mindset change. And that is going to take a lot of time. Before closing, I think I will share with you one small program which we started related to this mindset creation and how important it is. So when we started talking about innovation and entrepreneurship, and we started interacting with large number of youngsters, many youngsters told us that, sir, we want to do entrepreneurship, we want to do our startups, but our parents, our family members, our relatives, our spouses, our partners, boyfriends, girlfriends are not allowing us. They are saying, why you want to get into this rigmarole of doing your own entrepreneurship? Why you want to go through that magajmari? It's better you take up a job in maybe a good company. You are a bright student. You take up a job in the company and live a peaceful life. Ghumne jao sham ko, mast khana khao, picture dekho. Why you want to do all this entrepreneurship, startup, doing business, where you have to work 48 hours a day and not just 24 hours? You know? Because entrepreneurship is stressful, but it is extremely rewarding experience. So we said we have to do something about it. And we conceptualized an MBA program, which is called as MBA in Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Venture Development. It's an incubator-based program. It's not a conventional MBA program. We have named it as MBA or PGDM, but it's not a conventional MBA program. It's an incubator-based experiential learning program. 70% is experiential, only 30% classrooms. And we are allowing students to take admissions in teams. They have to pass the entrance exam because that is Supreme Court's guideline. but they can join as teams. So what we want students is to actually pursue entrepreneurship under the garb of this MBA program. And you will get all the mentoring which is required for successful, or completion of your venture or development of your venture. So your parents or you yourself can tell others that my son or I am pursuing MBA. But under the garb of that MBA, you are actually doing entrepreneurship. So if you are successful, after 2 years, you come out as a startup. If you are not, then you are more as an intrapreneur, because large number of companies now require people with an entrepreneurial mindset to join them, and what they are calling as intrapreneurs. We are doing this pilot in 4 institutions. We started with this in 4 institutions. Now this year, we have given more 11, 12 institutions that permission to run this program. And currently we are monitoring, we are evolving, we are changing the program based on the feedback, because it's a very innovative kind of a program which we are trying to. But the thing is that to solve this mindset problem, we had to actually come up with this program. This is not a very great thing, right? We really need to evolve as a society, which gives push to ideation. Something like an Israeli society. In Israel, if you are doing entrepreneurship, and if you fail, that failure is considered as badge of honor. So many people who have failed and then they restart, or they get up and again retry, the ability to get funding to these institutions or these youngsters who have 1 or 2 failures under their belt, it's much higher as considered as compared to someone who is starting it for the first time without the badge of failures. So we need to actually graduate to that level, where our youngsters think that even failures is teaching them enormously, and those failures should not pull them back from trying something new again. And as society, we need to be appreciative of such youngsters who, in spite of failing, are trying to actually work again, get up and start that journey. I know Vigyan Prasad is working in some of these aspects, but I will request them to actually also look at one forum. And sorry to name that forum here, but the name of that forum is very funny, or it's not very, and it's an Israeli forum, and you should actually organize lectures on that format. The name of the forum is Fucked Up Nights, Fucked Up Nights. And it's extremely well attended forum. But what that forum does is that they invite youngsters who have tried their hand on entrepreneurships and have failed. And many people want to learn from those failures. How they messed up. What kind of steps which they took, which actually fucked up their businesses. And that is the reason they are called as Fucked Up Nights. It's a very well recognized program in Israel. Because if you ask a successful person why you were successful, he may not able to give you a very precise answer, Because in a success of an enterprise, there are multiple factors. Like you might be at the right time at right place, you might have great team, or you might have received funding. You know, so many times when we are looking at or listening to these successful people, they try to analyze what could be the reasons behind their success and tell those reasons. But a failure really knows reason very, very precisely that I messed up here in these 2 or 3 steps. Please don't do that. And those learnings are extremely critical because those learning help people how not to and what not to do. So I believe that in future, Vigyan Prasar also invites some of these kind of people to talk about how they failed, why they failed, and through those failures also help encourage youngsters to get into this path so that together, as I said, we can dream of $5 trillion economy, or more importantly, making our country Jagat Guru, which we all are aiming for. Thank you very much. Really appreciate for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. This was really extraordinary, excellent. It was so captivating. Dr. Prasar, sir, would like to have your, I don't know whether he's there. We have received a couple of questions. So if you allow me, sir, I'll take the question. Yes, sir.
My apologies. I just got a call and I missed the last few valuable words from Dr. Abhay Jere. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Mishra.
Sir, we have some questions from the audience. I'll just read out them. First is how new education policy will help in establishing innovation ecosystem in educational institutions.
If you really look at new education policy, there is huge emphasis on innovation, entrepreneurship, startup creation, and so on and so forth. So now there is a recommendation, and it has been accepted and even announced in during the budget speech, or creation of National Research Foundation. So a new body will be created, which is in line with National Science Foundation in US, called as National Research Foundation, which will be coordinating with with various universities. And one of the major focus of National Research Foundation is to actually explore how to improve research in our state universities. Now, currently, if you really look at our education, our research scenario in this country, then we have completely separated out quality research from our education. Means you have CSIR institutes, you have DBT labs, you have DST labs, where research goes on. But they are not anyway connected to universities or colleges system. If you really look at US, even the normal universities, state universities are doing extremely quality research, very high quality research. So one of the fundamentals about or objective of NRF is to explore how to promote quality research in our state universities. That is one. Second is that there is no coordination between DBT, DST, CSIR, many times on funding related issues. So sometimes one PI gets funding from 2 or 3 institutes for the same problem statement, for the same project. That happens, by changing the name. So that coordination needs to be improved. So that NRF is also going to do. Apart from that, when in terms of education system itself, the new framework, which is 5+3+3+4 framework, which is there, where they're going to break silos between science, commerce, and arts. We believe that there will be a much more holistic development of an individual. So now, if you are taking physics, then you can take simultaneously music also, or if you are doing fashion designing, you can do mathematics also. So that holistic development will certainly happen. And on top of it, the emphasis on board exams is going to go down substantially, and only 2 exams will be there, and for other years there will be the passing mechanism or evaluation will be only based on project-based, assignment-based mechanism. So if you are solving the problems, if you are actually working on good projects, then only you will be actually promoted, and not that swallow and vomit kind of system which we are talking about, or we are used to it. So these kind of changes are suggested in new education policy. So then I can talk another for a couple of hours, on new education policy. So that's not. But I think in brief we can say that the structural changes at school level and college level, as well as creation of a completely new agency for promoting research and innovation has been envisaged.
Thank you, sir. There's another question from Miss Ankita Sengupta. She's asking that the mindset needs to be changed and should be changed at any cost, and that must start from the root level. What kind of initiatives are being taken to achieve this from school level?
Yeah, it's a very good question which has been asked. And we are actually looking at how we can change this at school, because school is where, the ideas or the out-of-box thinking of students get killed, and they get boxed into, okay, now you have to do this and this and this, and spoon feeding gets into it. So if you really ask who kills ideas, then there are 2 people or 2 sets of people. Teachers at school and parents and family members at home. इधर उधर की बात मत कर, मार्क्स कितना मिला वो बता. That is the simple philosophy which goes on in majority of the houses. That needs to change. So if you have to change that, then we have to change the pedagogy also. We have to change the evaluation systems also. For example, currently I'm part of a couple of committees. So one committee is actually looking at toy-based pedagogy. Can we use only toys for teaching up to 8th standard or 10th standard? Okay, so we are internally debating a lot on how we can teach concepts in physics and mathematics and chemistry and all those things using toys, tools. So that we are a committee working on that, and I'm part of that committee. Then another committee which has been again formed, and again I will be part of it, is whether we can include subjects like design thinking, critical thinking as subjects, as dedicated subjects within schools. So there is a very high possibility of having a subject called design thinking. How to think, how to visualize a problem, and how to visualize a solution for that problem. We have to teach students very, very systematically. Wonderful. Because when you see a problem, you cannot just see a problem at prima facie. You have to do 360-degree analysis of that. And then you also need to actually explore what is the best way to solve that problem. So how to teach youngsters that. So that kind of also subject may come up. But internally, CBSE has created a small committee, and I am also going to be part of that committee.
Okay. Thank you, sir. There's another question from Revati Balu. What are the parameters used to measure the innovation in educational institutions, research institutions, and industries?
What are the parameters?
Parameters used. Are there any parameters?
Yeah. So there are parameters, right? Parameters could be your publications in Scopus Journals, parameters related to your patent filing or patent granting, commercialization of those patents. There are multiple, those are very well established parameters which are currently there. Now the question is, parameters is not a problem. The quality of submissions happened under that parameter becomes a problem. So we really need to work on improving the quality of submissions. So if you are publishing, I don't publish in any of the national journals. I only publish in journals where the impact factor is 2 and above. I don't, it's okay if I don't publish, I'm fine. Fortunately, I don't have that obligation of publishing every small thing because I used to work in industry before joining government. And so industry, our evaluation is completely different. There, how much business you are getting or what kind of new products you are developing. Those are the parameters. Okay. So at every institute, the parameters are different. But yes, you also need to ensure that you focus on quality rather than just quantity.
Thank you, sir. We'll take another question. There are some more, but I'll take one more. So this question is why innovation is confined only to engineering and technical education, educational systems. When is it planned to extend it to other disciplines like basic sciences, medical science, and mathematical sciences, and so on?
No, on the contrary, we believe that innovation will actually come from many of these streams and not just from technology. Technology people are just technology people. They know how to use a tool. But identification of a problem will always come from a person who understands that field. For example, if you are working in art, or if you're a language expert, say you're an expert in you have done BA in maybe Pali. Now the thing is that if you want to actually do a scanning or image recognition, or actually create a library so that you start interpreting the documents which are in Pali at a scale, that is the problem which will come from you. And technology person will only help you in giving a solution, or will join you on how it could be done or how it can be solved. But the problem identification has to come from people who are working in their domain and may not be from a technology person. So if you are a commerce person, then the problem which you will identify, a technologist will not able to identify. Technologist person will help you actually eventually solve it. He will work in coordination with you. He will end up complementing you, because he may not able to understand basic commerce or basic, the ledgers which you have, or so and so forth. He will never have understanding of that. So there you will have to actually help him or guide him and tell him what you want. So you are defining a problem, then you are defining a solution for, and then the technologists will actually help you build that solution for you. So that partnership is extremely critical. And unfortunately, people are not realizing that this partnership is critical. And as a result, there is no collaboration happening between basic streams and technology streams, and that needs to be promoted aggressively.
Yeah.
Very
Can I
well
take
said,
one
sir.
question? Yes, sir. Sir, come. There's one question. Can I take that, sir? Can I ask to the speaker? This is that. Is there any criteria? What criteria is followed in evaluating innovation put forward by public support systems?
Means I didn't get the question, to be very honest. Can that person more elaborate more on what he or she wants to actually ask? Public support system innovation. What is the criteria to evaluate? The criteria to evaluate any innovation is impact. What kind of impact you are creating? How many lives you are touching? Simple. It's as simple as that. And eventually it could be wealth creation. But in all innovation, there may not be wealth creation. It may be a process innovation where you are simplifying the processes. For example, I will give one of the best innovation which has come out from this country, which people may not talk about, is this UPI. Okay. Now you can have your own UPI ID and do bank transactions in such a smooth way without any fees. It has actually created huge problem for all these credit card companies. This Bheem app which came out and UPI thing which has come out is one of the best innovation. And now large number of Western world is actually exploring how to replicate this innovation. Now this is the innovation which has come out from a public system. But the best way to measure it is the number of millions of transactions which are happening on daily basis or monthly basis. Now Google has integrated, WhatsApp has integrated, Bheem. Everyone uses Bheem now as a backend, right? Fantastic innovation which has happened. So the technology stack which we are talking about, tech stack, it's there. That trinity which government talks about, jam trinity, Jandan Mobile Aadhaar. It's a very good innovation. So there could be multiple examples of such.
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. B.K. Tyagi, he is with us on this platform. He has some questions.
Before he goes and tells, I mean, this was a topic, this was a deliberation which I think in the series of RIS lectures that I have witnessed in my last 2 years is one of the best lectures. It's not because Dr. Abhay Jere is here, but the kind of understanding with the kind of the way he's communicated. And I mean, it's unique. It's unique in a sense that we have people of eminence who come and speak, people of all sorts. I mean, there was a complete innovative style with which he communicated. This is something that, as science communicators, we ought to learn. This is something that we need to. I mean, there's no harm in emulating him as a best practice. Right? And Dr. Abhay Jere, we've just met over on this platform, but it looks like with the kind of deliberation you made, and especially the clarity of thoughts and ideas that you possess, is immense. It's incredible. And since we have a recording, I would love to play this recording to workshops that we shall be organizing at various places to explain, take up clips with which from which we can explain and help how effective one needs to tell and communicate. Besides this, taking a cue from what you said you could speak hours and hours on national education policy. Science, technology, engineering, medicine, agriculture, all of this play an important role in the new NEP. And Dr. Abhay Jere, this is an earnest request on behalf of the entire Vigyan Prasar that we would want to hold a special commemorative lecture. I mean, we've been asked to, organize this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and I guess we were planning to have a lot of people who've already been there. But this is an earnest request from our side. If you could spare some time in the month of April, we'll have the dates and others organized. Dr. Kinkini Das Gupta Mishra would come by, and I'll personally come to your door to request you to please accept our invitation to deliver our first lecture in this series.
Yeah, we can certainly explore that. We can certainly explore that.
We'll be honored, sir. We'll be honored.
I completely understand, and I will be also honored. So we will certainly explore.
So I mean, and a pleasure talking to you, because there's India Science Technology Innovation Portal that Dr. Kinkini Das Gupta Mishra runs. Right, has a lot of work on innovation that we try to do, but with today's God-sent opportunity where we met you, I think we've got to go a long way with you, and we'll be more than happy to partner and take it to the masses, the kind of message that you have delivered today. So,
Thank you, sir. Thank
I
you
mean,
very
this is
much.
from the core of my heart and from the
Thank you,
entire
sir.
Vigyan Prasar. I feel touched, moved, and inspired by your lecture, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Tyagi ji.
जी,
Thank you,
sir,
Sajid.
same here because I was totally mesmerized because हम लोग कम्युनिकेशन के लिए काम करते हैं तो जो कम्युनिकेशन पर से कैसा होना चाहिए irrespective of subject, I think you are the best example. क्योंकि मुझे जनरली नींद आ जाती है but I have not missed a single words of yours. मैं ये कह रहा था कि like if we have to start a culture of innovation, school system say, but there are a lot of we call it a grassroots innovation. But उसमें भी because हम लोग superstition पे काम कर रहे हैं या we try to give a minimum science which include detection of adulterations. वहां पर जो आदमी ये काम करता है, he is also doing an innovation, like making it that दूध, chemical दूध, which can qualify all the tests. To me, he is the biggest innovator. No doubt it is unethical or against the law. तो ये जो हमारा इनोवेटिव जो माइंड है वो शायद स्कूल सिस्टम से भी नहीं आया है. दैट मीन्स समथिंग इज एग्जिस्टिंग. How to like explore them or find them and nurture them into a right direction? Do you think like we should also have some provision or the policy or some institutional mechanism, let them come there and try to explore their that which have already a mindset for that, but it is not going into the right direction. So how we should deal with, because India ka we have seen that these kinds of innovation in especially in our rural area where the problems are more, they have to struggle more for their day-to-day thing, and there this mindset for innovating things without knowing whether it is a legal or illegal, how we should like address to this target group as well.
So
Please, sir.
it's a very good question, and I really, to be honest with you, I really don't know whether I have a complete answer for it or not. But it's a very good question and a very good suggestion, and it actually it's making me think. Yeah, but regarding places you are talking about, where to go for some of them, yeah, I think there are multiple such places. One is certainly National Innovation Foundation is there, which is working, and you must be aware of National Innovation Foundation. Apart from that, now Niti Aayog is starting 60 incubators. DST has more than 250 incubators. So if you really look at business incubators, I'm talking about. So if you really look at all total number of incubators from MSME, education, DST, and so on and so forth, we have about 400 to 450 incubators in this country. But the bad part of it is that we have that infrastructure ready, but it is getting underutilized. You can safely say that more than 70% of the incubators are 50% plus empty, in a sense, because it means that they can accommodate more startups, more ideas. Now, the question which we really need to ask is that how we can identify these right kind of peoples. Means when you are saying maybe in the right side, or maybe they are working ethically or working unethically, right? But they have that brain, right? So how we can identify these kind of people, actually create a database out of them if possible, and challenge them with the right kind of problems. So why they are doing adulteration or why they are getting into wrong track is because the problem with which they are challenged is the wrong problem.
Yeah.
So we have to change that problem statement with the right problem statement, which should offer them even opportunities. Because at the end of the day, why they are doing is they are doing it for livelihood. It's very simple. Otherwise, they will not able to survive. Many of them are doing it for survival. Now, if we actually change that from wrong problem statement to a right problem statement, then we will actually able to use their brain for coming up with the right kind of technologies or solving right kind of problems. I would say that maybe your technology may not be a technology. It could be a process innovation also. So solving. So problem currently which India is facing is that we are not sensitizing our youngsters or our problem solvers with the right kind of problems.
But sir,
That's
like,
where, and Modi is very, when I met Modi ji also told us that, see, उससे solution आता है कि नहीं आता है वो बात की बात है, लेकिन उसको sensitize तो करो पहले कि ये problem है, अपना बड़ा problem है. So when we were talking about railways, and I was talking कि railways के लिए हमारे लोगों ने इतने Smart India hackathon now, which has become world's biggest hackathon. We do same thing there, but we do it with youngsters. So what we do when we started with Smart India hackathon was that we said we need to tell students that these are the problems which need to be solved. So I went to various ministries. We went to initially to about 30 ministries, from Ministry of Road Transport, Railways, Aviation, Civil, Rural Development, Urban Sanitation, and so on and so forth. Even ISRO, DAE. And we asked them, give us 5 to 10 problem statements which are very critical for you. And we will use them to challenge our youngsters. So first year we could identify about 600 problems, which we used for challenging students. And उनको कहा कि ये problems हैं, इसके लिए तुम solution दे सकते हो क्या देखो. And we could actually end up solving about 20 to 30 problem statements. And we could do best work for ISRO, because ISRO was very finicky about things. And they were monitoring things very aggressively. So they could identify really sharp brains with sharp ideas. Okay? And then they could mold them. कि ये यहाँ आइडिया मत यूज करो, ये हमारे लिए यहाँ आइडिया यूज करके दोगे तो हमको ज्यादा फायदा होगा. And then subsequently first year ISRO was so happy with us, they eventually started having a separate center for them, for ISRO. And now they have started even a fellowship also, that post hackathon the students will work with them for 6 months. They will pay them for implementing those solutions which these students have developed. So what I believe, I don't know whether I've answered your question or not, but what I believe is that if we can challenge these wrong people with the right kind of problem statements, which actually shows them a livelihood, then we will be able to use their brain for right things.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we have come to the end of the program, and so I'll propose the vote of thanks. And just one thing which I would like to add here is that since Director Sir has mentioned about that portal, we have a corner called Collective Intelligence. So we've done a pilot initiative on Science Society Setu. So basically that is from bottom-up approach. So we posed a lot of questions, and we were obtaining all the answers and solutions and ideas from the different communities, from knowledge organizations, NGOs, and communities. So that is one initiative that we had tried a pilot. So I think on this platform, we can think of collaborating more and taking more, ideas, and how do we address and attempt to solve these societal problems. So I, on behalf of Vigyan Prasar and on my own behalf, thank Dr. Abhay Jere and express my sincere gratitude to you for joining us and enlightening us with the changing roles of higher education in the context of creating an innovation ecosystem. And sir, thank you for acknowledging Vigyan Prasar and our efforts during our lecture. And as Dr. Prasar has mentioned, we would certainly associate with you in our programs and create a network and explore possibilities of developing a program, sensitizing youngsters, and work towards inculcating the culture of innovation among the students and other members of society. And as you have rightly said, change the mindset. And I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, Director General of Research and Innovation Information System for Developing Countries, RIS, and Dr. Amit Kumar from RIS for their enormous cooperation and ideation in organizing this kind of public lecture series, and having people coming together on these kind of platform. My special thanks to all the participants and the attendees, without whom this session holds no value. And finally, I would like to extend my thanks to our director, Dr. Nakul Parashar, for chairing the session, as well as for supporting and motivating us throughout. And I also acknowledge the efforts put up by the entire team of ISTI portal at Vigyan Prasar for their logistics support and online moderation. Thank you so much. We look forward to many more association occasions of coming together, sir. And thank you for your wonderful presentation. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar.